this is the property that I'm at. My real estate agent showed me a listing for it yesterday towards the afternoon. It's right now 2 o'clock on Thursday. So we're gonna go check out this side. My interest in this property is to see whether we can potentially create 4 units, 2 on the up, 2 on the down, like 2 basement units, legal secondary suites. Create this into 4 units and essentially make it a cash cow, really. I mean, it would be beautiful if we could get 1,500 or 1,600 for the upstairs and 1,400 for the basements on each side. I mean, yeah, there might be a potential for a garage suite in the backyard. We'll check that out later. I really love that waterfall fountain. Okay, so we're going through this. School right opposite. Downtown views are over there of Edmonton, which is quite nice. The space looks quite big, you know. It is fairly decent. This is all old cabinetry, so, you know, at some point I imagine they'll be upgraded. My partner does all the design, so it'll literally be following her lead on that. I do think that if we just painted this place, changed the doors, changed the trim, changed the lights, it would be a whole new different property and could perhaps get somewhere between 15 to 1,600 a month in rent. These look like nice size, well, that one did, pantries. This is downstairs. I would end up closing it off, getting that 15, 16 for just the upstairs, and look at developing the basement as a legal secondary suite, perhaps get 1,400 from the basement, and do the same thing on the other side. So turning it into a cash cow with 4 units. The bathtub looks like it's okay. You know, I think just take off the surround and put tile, but that would be like down the road. The biggest priority would probably be getting the basements renovated first. This would be 1 out of 3 bedrooms. Not much of a closet space here. That's unfortunate, but perhaps a kid's room of sorts. This would be a 2nd bedroom, and you got views of the backyard. It's quite nice. You know, there is a bit of a slope that you can see here. I'd have to get a property inspector to deem whether that's gonna be an issue, and I would imagine we would just need to spread the slope to the left and right so that it doesn't send water shooting right down to the foundation. And this would be the 3rd bedroom, again, closets. So, I mean, really, once you paint the place, change the lights, upgrade the doors, you know, do all that stuff, it really is a different property. I'll show you downstairs. Okay. So I'm not loving this furnace right here, just off the hop, because I'm thinking about developing a suite. If I develop the suite, this might pose a potential issue if once you come right downstairs, we're gonna have to hide that in a room of sorts. And the cost to relocate this furnace gets a bit pricey. You know, realistically, if we shot it to the back of the suite and put the 2nd furnace in the corner with it too, and the hot water tank, and basically put a room right in the back of either side. I mean, I don't know, I have to check out the other side, but you know, that the cost involved with relocating all that stuff can add up very easily and very quickly. So I'd have to look at exploring all options. Looks like a partly finished room. This is a nice sized room. You know, of course, to create a secondary suite, we're gonna have to make these windows bigger to conform to what's called egress. Egress is basically just another opportunity to escape. You need two means of escaping through a room, right? One is the door, the other one would be the window. In a main floor suite, you have the big window out front, so that's not an issue. Sorry, I hope I'm not distorting the camera. I'm kind of trying to look around myself at the same token of showing you guys. So bear with me. All this would be torn down. Everything here, even the ceiling. I don't like the fact that there's just one light here, and this looks like it's drywalled. You see this right here? That means somebody tried to tape and mud it, okay? If you tape and mud on your own and it looks like that, I mean, if it's just for yourself, that's fine. But that would be a sign that maybe you need a bit more practice. Okay, realistically, you don't want to see the tape joints, you know, like you do over there and whatnot. So, of course, over time it tends to peel too. You know, these are the corner beads. Obviously, this corner came apart. But yeah, that's basically the basement here. Okay, so I can't show you the other side because currently there's a tenant that occupies that suite. We are coming in with less than 24-hour notice from the time that my real estate agent informed me about this property. So for that reason, we can only see the vacant side. But I'll take you around the side and we'll perhaps at a different date, if everything goes well, we'll have a look at going in that side. So we'll come through here. So here around the side you have, looks like the fresh air intake for the furnace. And you got the gas meter here, of course. A side entrance. You know, garden hose, ideally those you should try to, if you're touching it and upgrading it, make it a frost-free version, especially in Canada. This would probably be the dryer vent, right above a window. Not the smartest thing. Right off the hop, it looks like there's water stains. So there must have been an issue at some point. There's a crack in the foundation, a little crack there. Gotta look at that. Here, they used to have rain gutters that would lead to the sewer line for older homes. And then nowadays with, you know, dense population, now they want it draining away from the property. So let's see where they have it. And usually that just gets capped off for the sewer line, right? But here it leads over there. But if you notice, there's a bit of a slope here, right? So all that water hitting the roof leads out to there. And then where does it run? Runs back down here. No wonder you got a big, nice, tall tree, as long as it just doesn't accumulate here by the foundation. Yeah, so these windows are gonna require window wells for a secondary suite. So I'm gonna have to come out here with a shovel and a friend. And I think my friend knows exactly who I'm referring to. But yeah. You know, the one thing I will say is that there is no garage, which normally that would seem like a bad thing. But if we built a garage here, we could potentially build a garage suite on top of it, right? So if you look at this garage, you still have all this backyard space, right? That's how far it would come out. But if we did a double car garage or even a triple car garage and a suite on top, we could turn this from 4 units into 5 units. I like the fact that these power lines are coming into the house above ground and not underground. That means to upgrade the panels or do any work like that, it's going to be significantly cheaper. I mean, otherwise you'd have to jackhammer to one of those transformers, and that's a pretty penny. Here we just ask the city to turn off the power, or the utility company, sorry, to turn off the power. They turn off the power, electrician goes in, upgrades it, gets the city to give the certificate, the green light on it, and then away we go. turn the power back on. And real estate is all about how many units you can develop on a piece of land. So, I mean, the more money you can pull out from the land, the better the rental property is. So I'm showing you a view from here. Certainly has a lot of parking back here. I mean, I would have to come out here and do the official assessment as to whether you could get 3-car garage here, but you know, if you got 1, 2, 3 and you had parking on the left and the right, you could have 1-car garage, 1-car garage for both upstairs. The one in the middle could be for the garage suite, and one on each side of the garage itself could be for the basement units. So everybody technically has a garage spot. Oh wow, is that what I think it is? Is this an extension cord? I think it is. Yeah. This is a video now about what not to do. But anyways, the fence looks like it's leaning a bit. Alright guys, so I asked the seller for a 1-week extension. We're on May 20th right now, and the financing conditions have been extended until May 27th, so it gives me a total of 3 weeks to get financing together. This one is going to be a long, complicated process, but hopefully it pays off. All I need before I lift financing conditions and property inspection conditions, which is scheduled for the same day on the 27th, is a firm commitment letter by the bank saying that they're going to lend the mortgage amount. I do not and will not be lifting conditions prior to receiving that firm commitment letter for a couple reasons. One is the deposit, in this case $10,000 that I put down, would be forfeit if I lift financing conditions or property inspection conditions for that matter, and something goes wrong and I cannot close on the property, meaning I cannot officially buy the property for whatever reason. Then I lose the $10,000 deposit. That's in a best case scenario. A worst case scenario is the seller can no longer sell the property for $665,000 and now is forced to sell the property at $600,000. Let's say the market changes or they can't find a buyer and the only buyer they can find is willing to buy it for $600,000. That loss I am liable for. So they can come back to me and ask for the difference of $65,000 in this case. And that's for a property I'm not even purchasing, right? At that stage. You'll get a letter from your lender. There'll be one letter that states a conditional offer for financing. So assuming XYZ is met, they'll extend the money to purchase the home. Once those conditions are met, then comes the formal and official commitment letter that says, you know, what your interest rate is, what your term is, and so on and so forth. That's the letter you want to receive in writing. You know, with this property, my stress levels are through the roof, okay? And the reason why is because what this property is potentially worth to me. You know, I've already calculated that the upstairs units, both upstairs units renting for $1,500 a month, will cover my mortgage and operating costs. So that leaves the basement suites pure cash flow. So right from the very beginning, this is a mint property. But right now the property is worth $665,000, which is the purchase price. In 30 years time, which is the length I intend to hold the property for, it's going to be worth somewhere in the neighborhood of 1.5, 1.6 million conservatively. Then if we consider that each basement is worth roughly about $450,000 in pure profit, the combination of both works out to be roughly about $900,000. Factor in rental increase over the 30 years and let's call it an easy $1 million. So we're now sitting at 2.6 million. We still haven't factored in anything like tax deductions and so on and so forth that would add to the value of the property. So when we look at the picture as a whole, how much is this side-by-side duplex worth to me? It's worth 3 to 3.5 mil in the course of 30 years. So what did I use to purchase this property? Essentially, I used 20% down, which works out to be $133,000. Out of that, and this is where the trick comes in, how much of my own money did I use? That's money out of my disposable income that I saved up from either positive cash flow or through my paycheck, how much of my own disposable income have I used to purchase this one side-by-side duplex that's going to amass me a fortune of 3 to 3.5 million? The answer is zero. Nothing out of my own personal income. I used equity that was already existing in a different property to come up with a down payment to purchase another investment property. And the interest that I am paying on the home equity line of credit, in this case the equity that I borrowed, that interest is tax deductible because it's a business loan, and any interest paid on a business loan is tax deductible. So I'm getting the tax deductions from the amount I borrowed out of my equity, and I'm purchasing a rental property to which the mortgage on a rental property is a business loan. So I'm writing off the interest on that property as well. And that's why when you hear people say that the first property is the hardest property to purchase, it's absolutely correct. And that's because on your first property, you're saving all your disposable income and scrounging every last dollar that you can to be able to put the money together to purchase an investment property. But after that, once you start building equity in that property, you're not actually dipping into your own pocket. You're using the equity to grow your portfolio through economy of scale. Okay, so I just got off the phone with the bank, and it turns out that the people in the credit department, so not at the branch level, but above and beyond that, don't know what a side-by-side duplex is. I haven't really come across this one before. So I tried to explain to them that it's kind of like putting two bungalows together, just ones with basements. It's two separate sides for one property on one title. Normally in new construction and purpose built, which means, you know, they're building these side-by-side duplexes for investment opportunities, usually finishing the basements as legal suites. Usually in these kind of scenarios, you would see two separate titles because the builder wants to sell each side separately. It's about maximizing profits. Older properties, the way that they were built back in the day, is they were built as one title, right? Just two sides. I had to try to explain that to them, and then they wanted to they wanted to see a certificate suggesting that both sides of this property were legal sides. And I was trying to tell them that there is no certificate suggesting each side is legal, because you have the certificate of occupancy at a time when the property was built. It's like if you go buy a house, you know, today or tomorrow, that you're gonna move into and live in, you don't go and try to show the bank that it's acceptable to live in this house. I mean, the assumption is made that the house was built, if the city hasn't shut it down, right? And let's say due to excessive mold or whatever, God knows, right? But if the city hasn't come and shut it down, then it's legal to live in that property, right? So you get the certificate of occupancy the moment that you want to turn on the utilities. You have to show it so that they know that the city has approved it. But yeah, so that's what I'm kind of going through. So something else that came up in conversation is that the bank wants to verify that the amount stated for property tax on the highlight sheet is in fact accurate, and it is that amount that is due every year. Not only is this public information that they can look up on the government website, or the city website rather, but it's stated on the highlight sheet. The city is the one that drafts up the highlight sheets, or spec sheets as they're sometimes referred to. It doesn't actually come from the seller, right? So the numbers that are stated on the highlight sheet are accurate to the best knowledge of the city. Therein lies the verification that they would require. So I don't know. I mean, the stress on this one, if everything goes well, I don't know what I'm going to do right now, but there's going to be a definite thank you package for the branch downtown. I mean, and that's part of building good relationships, right? It's a little bit too optimistic to assume we're going to get there right now. So we got to get through small little hurdles. The idea of this video is to show you these small little hurdles. So I do apologize, you know, if they can seem a bit lengthy, but it's to give you as a viewer, an idea that you might come across these challenges. There should be a lot less when you're buying it as a first-time home buyer as opposed to an investor with a portfolio. But you do come across these issues, and you need to have solutions to them. You need to be able to answer your phone when they want to get a hold of you, because the banks typically need between 7 to 10 days to approve a loan. 2 weeks is an appropriate amount of time, as long as once you get the accepted offer, you send it to your bank right away, to your representative. So you have to have a good strategy in place of who you're going to send it to. Maybe call them, talk to them ahead of time, let them know what's going on, that you're looking, so on and so forth. In this case, because the file is so complex, I have asked for an extra week. They've granted it, but they didn't have to. Hope everything goes through. Wish me luck. So last Friday, the bank rep advised me that he's going to put in a rush appraisal for this property because we're so tight on time. And last Friday afternoon, the appraiser contacted me and told me that he'd be out Monday. The appraisal went through. We're just waiting on the report to come in, hopefully tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. And hopefully everything goes well. What I mean by that, for those who may not be familiar with this process, is, let's say, hypothetically speaking, the appraiser goes to the property and comes back and says the house is only worth $650,000, but the seller and I have agreed on a purchase price of $665,000. Well, we have a couple options there. One is I could talk to the seller, tell him the situation, and ask if he's willing to meet me halfway. If he lowers his price by $7,500 and I increase how much I'm putting down by $7,500, well, we can cover that $15,000 difference. The other option is that I obviously walk away from the property, and the third option, which is the most realistic, is that I have to come up with that difference myself. So the bank comes back and says the appraisal only came in at $650,000, so that's what we're lending you based off of. To which point I'm putting down, in my case, 20%. So I would have to put down 20% of $650,000, in this case $130,000, and then the bank would loan me a mortgage for $520,000. So the $15,000 difference, I have to then fork out extra cash. In this particular case, if that happens, we're going to be okay, but obviously, we are hoping that the appraisal comes in pretty much on point with the purchase price, and that would be the ideal scenario. Now, I didn't go to the property for the appraisal. Realistically, there's no need for me to be there. The real estate agent or the seller, or whoever is there on site, will assist the appraiser to let them through. So I have scheduled the property inspection to take place tomorrow. I will be on site with them and meet with them and go through the property. Normally you would wait until you can lift financing conditions before you schedule a property inspection. That's why generally your financing conditions, the date to remove it, is usually a week before the date to remove your property inspection. And that's to give you that week buffer in between. In this case, we had to basically fight the clock, so that wasn't really possible. And I don't want to wait until like Thursday afternoon or Friday morning, God forbid, to do a property inspection, because that's just pushing it too close. In this case, if I'm spending, well over $500,000 on this property, if I have to potentially risk $700-800 on a property inspection, well, so be it. I would rather know the state and condition of the property than to try to save a couple $100. This way, if there's any questions that come about, they're right there. I can ask them. Even though I do have the benefit of going through the property with the eyes of a contractor, I still always hire a property inspector, because there's still things that I can miss. There's still things that I do miss. And these guys have the tools at their disposal, the thermal imaging cameras. Ideally, if it's raining tomorrow, that's a good thing, because we can see if moisture is coming in and from where. Some people may choose to bring their contractor with them to these property inspections if they plan on doing a substantial amount of work. Perhaps then they can get a ballpark idea about pricing, or offer him a couple $100 for his time. But nonetheless, you do have a property inspector going through it, and that's all you really need. You don't need a contractor with you. So I have the property inspectors here, and I chose to come up on the roof just to take a look. Shingles are new, and got the venting. This would probably be the same elevation if we did a garage suite and did a flat roof to create a terrace, which is more and more the mentality that I got. But yeah. Hey guys, so it's the night before I'm supposed to lift financing and property conditions on this property. Still, there's been no word back from the bank. I haven't heard anything. My stress and anxiety is through the roof in regards to what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm going to have to tell the bank representative tomorrow in the morning that I'm very appreciative of all the hard work that he's done up to this point. But if we don't have a firm commitment by the bank by end of day tomorrow in writing that financing has been approved, I'm gonna have no choice but to forego on the property and say goodbye to this one. It is what it is. Sometimes these things happen, but nothing we can do about it. I'm not prepared to lose any money on this one, like the $10,000 deposit, or if the seller can't sell it at $665 and sells it at $600, I don't want to pay $65,000 for a property I don't even own. So I'm not going down that road. It's not worth that. If they can't get it done by the end of the day. Hey guys, so my mortgage rep got in touch with me today at about 11 a.m. And he asked me if there was any chance that we could extend the financing conditions by a couple more days or even a week. And I said there's absolutely no chance. At this point, the sellers have extended the financing conditions from 2 weeks to 3 weeks. When you consider the weekends, the property's been tied up for about a month now. There's no chance that the sellers are going to entertain another week extension. And I think even asking or suggesting such would probably tick them off. So I'm not even going to go down that road. He then asked me if I'd be comfortable lifting the financing and property inspection conditions without receiving the official document in hand. And I knew that was possibly coming down the pipe. And I said no. I'm not comfortable taking that gamble. It's a lot of money at risk. I understand that he's worked so hard. And I've tried my best to assist with getting documents on time, but if I don't have it in writing, I don't have it. And so that's what it kind of comes down to. So he asked me to give him until 4 o'clock. I'm giving him until 4 o'clock. The unique challenge in this particular case that I'm facing is that the sellers are elderly people and they go to bed early, which is not a problem, but it means that we don't have as many hours in the day to try to come up with a solution. The other challenge also is that the sellers, I guess, are not electronic savvy is what I'm told, and so therefore they've been printing off the documents and hand signing them and then scanning or faxing them in. And so that presents a unique challenge on its own because there has to be a time amount that's factored in for them to do that. Now typically it would just be me signing off the waivers and that's it, that's all. They don't need to sign, but in this case I want to try to, once the financing is approved, I want to try to use the property inspection that I've received back to leverage the purchase price by negotiating the price down a little bit. I need time to do that, and I need time for them to sign off that they're okay with the new purchase price. But we don't have the financing approved. So there's no point negotiating the price if the financing, can't even be lifted. So I need time to do all this stuff, so I need the answer back ASAP, and it's like sitting on the edge of your seat waiting, you know what I mean? Like, it's just nerve-wracking. Okay, so good news, we got the approval. I just got a call from the bank rep. He advised me that the written approval is going to be sent in the email in a matter of minutes, and so okay, so that's done. I have an idea here. Now, my partner always wanted to go through the States, do a Pacific Coast Highway trip. And I felt, after all this stress and everything that this property caused me, it would be good to have a trip. So I was thinking, okay, well, maybe we could consider going down the Pacific Coast Highway. I think it's Route 66, and hitting up San Francisco, San Diego, Santa Monica, down to LA, Hollywood, Sunset Boulevard, Universal Studios, go to Vegas, and maybe stay at the Bellagio Hotel with a fountain view room, and then come back up to Edmonton. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be so sweet if the sellers could pay for all this? They caused me a whole bunch of stress trying to buy their property. So I figured out a way to do this. A way to do this would be to look at the property inspection, and I found some issues with the plumbing and the electrical and the windows, and I'm going to be addressing all three in any case, so I have the budget set for it. But I figured I would ask the sellers to reduce their price by $5,000 and issue it in the form of a check upon time of closing instead of reducing it from the actual price of the property. That would give me $5,000 in my hand for items that I've already budgeted for, and therefore I can take the $5,000 and go do this trip. So I just got off the phone with my real estate agent, and the sellers approved it. So they're going to issue me a check for $5,000 at time of closing. So first of all, I got to wait for that signature to come in. We still got quite a bit of time today. My financing doesn't start until mid-August. I got to touch base with the mortgage broker, but usually they allow you to start, I think they extended by 30 or 45 days for the first payment to come out. So I'm going to set it up for August. That means we would collect the rent from the existing tenant for the month of July, which I think is $1,200 if I'm not mistaken. I would have $2,000 plus in mortgage payments I don't need to pay for July. Plus I'm getting the $5,000 from the seller now. And I got vacation days I need to burn off at work. So I think I'm going to surprise my partner with a trip to the States in July. Hey guys, so I just got back from the bank and signed all the mortgage documents. Everything is done. First payment comes out in August, so I have a bit of a buffer, which is nice. We take possession at the end of this month. Now, we're not going to move possession date because we happen to get here sooner. I mean, that's usually you don't move possession date because the financing is so, tied to the property. If you were to move possession date, generally speaking, it's when you want to take possession maybe 6 months or 8 months sooner, not because you want to move in a week or 2 weeks earlier or take possession 2 weeks earlier. So it's a waiting game. Now that's what we deal with. But I got to wait for the lawyer. The lawyer gets all the documents from the bank. The lawyer then receives all the documents from the seller. And once he has all those documents, crunches the numbers, he calls me and he tells me, okay, I need you to bring in a bank draft or any check, however they want to receive the payment of this amount, which is basically the 20% down. So in this case, $133,000 plus whatever his legal fees are. Usually they account for a little bit more just in case. And whatever is excess, they'll end up refunding you anyway several weeks after closing. So he'll get in touch with me, let me know how much to bring to his office. I'll go to his office, provide him the money down, sign all the documents, and then essentially it's a waiting game. Usually the lawyers require about a week's worth of time to get all that stuff. The fact that we were together through every step of this process, and every time I've gone to the property, I've had a video to explain what I was doing and where we were. I'm happy that you guys could see this, because some of those people out there who haven't been through the purchasing of a property stage can benefit through this video by understanding what to expect, what comes up, how stressful it can be, what kind of money you need, what sort of things to look at doing before you start this process and after you complete this process. I think that I've done a pretty good job so far. And if you think so too, do me a solid, hit the like and subscribe button down below. It's only gonna help boost up the algorithm so that more people can see it and more people can benefit from it. So moving forward, next step is the lawyer stage, and I'll keep you updated. All right, so nothing to really say here. I'm at the lawyer's office. I brought in the bank draft that he wanted and asked for title insurance. We got that and we're done. Hey guys, so even though everything worked out in the end and we were able to acquire this property and add it to our portfolio, which obviously was a huge win, unfortunately there was an unexpected family emergency in Vancouver and we had to leave 2 days prior to possession. I know it sucks. It was an unexpected curveball for us, but hey, that's life, right? From BC, my partner and I will carry out our plans to take a vacation down the Pacific Coast Highway to LA and come up through Vegas. We'll be on vacation for pretty much the entire month of July, but I'll be starting renovations as of August 1st on those basements, and I'll keep you guys in the loop for sure. It's been an incredible journey thus far, and I'm happy we were able to share this together. Stay tuned.